There's been a crazy amount of confusion around ARK Invest's trades on Chinese stocks, and it's easy to see why. Both the mainstream media and many finance channels right here on YouTube have been super quick to point out that Cathie Wood somehow flip-flopped on China by selling out of many of these stocks only a month ago, just to buy back in over the last couple weeks. YouTubers especially are always quick to cherry-pick headlines about ARK Invest, add fire or big red text to their thumbnail, and give their hot take on Cathie Wood's latest investments. As a YouTuber myself, I understand that temptation, and I sometimes give into it myself. I'm going to show you exactly what Cathie Wood is actually doing with the Chinese stocks she's been buying and selling, because there are some very important details here. First, let me play you a few minutes of her recent call with Bloomberg Businessweek, where they talked extensively about exactly these kinds of trades. The first rule of this channel is to always treat your time as an investment. To save you time, I've cut out all of the parts about politics and kept only the conversations around stocks specifically. If you're interested in the political backdrop, I've linked the full interview in the description below. If you want to skip this clip and go straight to my analysis of Cathie Wood's main points and ARK Invest's trading data, timestamps are enabled for your convenience, and you can go right to this time in the video. So here's the clip.
We've been talking a lot about Chinese stocks and you getting back into it. Talk to us a little bit about your thinking right here, because it was just last month that you pulled back on your exposure and were selling. What changed?
Sure. Yes, we saw increasing signs that the government was going to get tough on companies. We didn't know and companies which were more than unicorns. They had exploded onto the scene, and they had become so powerful, as had their leaders, that they almost seemed to be threatening the government. At least that seemed to be our take on the government's response. So we were a bit cautious, pulled away, and in fact, our flagship fund has moved out of most Chinese stocks. I think we were out probably late April, late May, somewhere around there. It might have been a little bit later. So I think that the market's going to be under pressure from a valuation point of view for a long time now, because that sort of thing was so unexpected. But what we have done, we did after this last bloodbath in the stocks, we did try and sort through, okay, which companies are doing things the government likes. Right. And what we're seeing are those that are catering to tier 3, tier 4 cities, logistics, groceries. So you've seen us buy JD.com. JD Logistics is a big part of JD.com. I think they own 70% of it. So that's probably been our biggest purchase, as well as some Pinduoduo for the same reason. But if you were to look at what we were doing in those portfolios, we were really swapping them out of other names that we think are going to be continue to be in harm's way, or certainly under government pressure, like the Alibabas, for example.
Which you've been selling, correct?
Yes.
Cathie, they don't want to alienate, though, global investors, do they? Or how important is it that global investors stay invested in those Chinese stocks and companies?
Well, one of the things we've been learning is the biggest risk China would have on its hands, I think, is a revolution, and it could be around that. I think that's why it's stepped on this kind of mega cap stock as aggressively as it has. It realized it had just mushroomed, gotten out of control, certainly government control, and now they're coming back in to exert a little control.
So more pessimistic about China long term, or more optimistic?
I'm more optimistic.
Okay.
I'm going to turn it around a little bit. I'm not pessimistic about China longer run because, they're a very entrepreneurial society. Sure, the government is putting more rules and regulations in, but I don't think the government wants to stop growth and progress at all. What I will say, though, is I'm a little more optimistic about the United States and other economies, so it's more of a relative sort of thing. The more insular China becomes, actually, the less competitive in many ways it will be, because artificial intelligence, sure, you can have all kinds of data about your own population, China or Chinese government, but in order to compete in the world, you're going to need information everywhere, and I think governments around the world are a little suspicious of what is happening now in China.
What do you think the investment environment will look like in China in 5 years from now compared to what we're seeing today? And because investors, everyone follows what you're doing. So are you positioning for the 5 years from now?
Sure. We have a 5-year investment time horizon. I think we're consolidating into the few names, and these are not in our flagship fund. These are in other of our more specialized funds. So we're consolidating our position. So we've taken it down, continued to take it down, but consolidating more towards with higher positions in names like I described. They're, really focused on tier 3, tier 4, groceries, logistics, manufacturing in China. So we'll stick with those while we wait and see, how the government wants to play this.
So let's look at ARK Invest's data in a few ways. Here's my dashboard showing ARK Invest's combined positions across every Chinese stock they've held over the last 6 months, so much further back than what all the current headlines are focusing on. The y-axis here is the size of the position in millions of dollars, and the x-axis is just the date from the end of February to the end of August. Right now, we're looking at all of the funds combined. Let's start with Baidu, ticker symbol BIDU, which is a Chinese competitor to Google in big data and artificial intelligence. ARK Invest started lowering the weight of Baidu back in early March, and then again in early May, just like Cathie Wood said during that clip. Today, ARK Invest has a little less than $40 million in Baidu, or about 3% of what they had in it just 6 months ago. Tencent, ticker symbol TCEHY, is a Chinese media conglomerate with tons of internet-focused services ranging from video games and music to e-commerce and online payment systems. They own 5% of Tesla. Cathie Wood reduced ARK Invest's overall position in Tencent even earlier than Baidu's. ARK Invest's position in Tencent got cut by about a third back in the beginning of March, and then slowly got de-weighted until the start of July. Then, throughout July and August, Cathie Wood sold Tencent down to about $45 million, or just about 4% of what she had in it 6 months ago. KE Holdings, ticker symbol BEKE, is an integrated online and offline platform for housing transactions. They help service providers and housing customers efficiently navigate housing transactions, ranging from existing and new home sales, to home rentals, to home renovation, and real estate financial solutions. We can see the same kind of pattern here as with Baidu. ARK Invest let the position shrink from $680 million in February to $450 million in the beginning of May. Then they started heavily selling out until they closed their position at the end of July. Huya, ticker symbol HUYA, is a live streaming gaming platform, kind of like Twitch TV or YouTube here in the States. In addition to video games and esports, Huya also supports live broadcasts for things like cooking and traditional sports. Importantly, Tencent owns half of Huya. ARK Invest has been slowly selling out of Huya since before 6 months ago, and they sold out completely at the end of July. Alibaba, ticker symbol BABA, is often thought of as the Amazon of China, focusing on e-commerce, retail, and internet technologies. Alibaba wasn't a huge position for ARK Invest to begin with, but you can see that Cathie Wood stepped it down at the end of February, and then at the end of May, July, and August. ARK Invest now has a tiny $3 million position in Alibaba, about 1.1% of what they had in it in February. Let me add even more context here. The biggest sells to these Chinese companies happened in ARKK, ARK Invest's flagship $22 billion innovation fund. As you can see, Baidu, Tencent, KE Holdings, and Huya were the big Chinese holdings in ARKK, and they got sold out of by the end of July. This plot stops on July 30th, since that's the last data point here. Like Cathie Wood said, this happened because of China's crackdowns on internet-focused companies with sensitive user data, which shifted her conviction towards the US and emerging markets like Southeast Asia and Latin America. So she didn't just blindly sell out of these companies, she rotated that money into markets with more favorable conditions for innovation, the same companies I've been making videos about over the last quarter. She did that because you need data from all around the world if you want to provide a global software solution, and China's crackdowns make it so that they're only seeing data for their local markets. Okay, so let's look at what everyone is actually hemming and hawing about. Let's go back to ARK Invest's combined funds and zoom in on just the last month. See this bump in JD.com and Pinduoduo? Oh no, you don't? Well, let me just cut the x-axis by 85% from $1.5 billion down to $200 million, just so you can see what all of the drama is about. Now you can see these tiny bumps in JD.com, Pinduoduo, Tencent, and JD Logistics. In the clip I played earlier, Cathie Wood covered exactly why she felt comfortable buying back into these companies. ARK Invest looked into what the Chinese government is not cracking down on as much, which is logistics, groceries, and so on, which lets Cathie Wood purchase innovative companies in those areas like JD, JD Logistics, and Pinduoduo. The only real surprise to me is that Cathie Wood bought more of Tencent in ARKF, ARK Invest's fintech innovation fund. Tencent is now 1.22% of that fund by weight. Just to be clear, ARKF is one of ARK Invest's smallest funds. It's about $3.7 billion in assets under management, which represents about 8% of all of ARK Invest's funds combined. That means ARK Invest's Tencent position is much less than 1 penny of every $10 Cathie Wood controls across her funds. Here's the full picture from the last 6 months one more time, just to hopefully nail the point home of how tiny the share repurchases of these highlighted companies actually were. This is the kind of stuff I feel really takes our eyes off the prize as investors because it scares us out of great positions. Which brings me to my actual constructive feedback for ARK Invest and what I think their actual mistake here really was. ARK Invest releases a newsletter every week. No mention of China's crackdowns. ARK Invest publishes research articles specifically on market commentary that are written by Cathie Wood herself. No mention of the crackdowns. Cathie Wood has a monthly video series called In the Know with Cathie Wood, which can be found on ARK Invest's YouTube channel. In her last episode, she did talk about China, but not really with the same specifics as she covered in that interview that I featured earlier in this episode. In my opinion, as an ARK Invest fan and shareholder, I think it would have been really useful for them to publish an update going into China's politics, their policies, and those implications for stocks like Alibaba and Tencent versus JD and Pinduoduo. I feel like being a little more proactive would have really highlighted the positive sides of active management by showing how quickly ARK Invest's funds can pivot into and out of positions when new information is made available, while passive funds and indexes wouldn't really rebalance like that. A lot of ARK Invest's performance does come from this active trading of their positions, not just the stocks that they pick, and an article putting all of that together would have made a very compelling case for the ARK funds. Hopefully, this episode helped you understand the types of companies that the Chinese government is cracking down on, and what is actually going on with ARK Invest's positions in them. If it did, let me know by investing in the like button and subscribing to the channel with all notifications turned on. That's a great way to keep up with all things ARK Invest, and invest in the channel that invests in you. Also, if you want to fact check all of this drama for yourself instead of waiting for me to cover it in a video, my ARK Invest data dashboards are available to my patrons on Patreon and my channel members right here on YouTube. Using your head and doing your own research is an investment that will always pay off. Big time. Until next time, this is ticker symbol U. My name is Alex, reminding you that the best investment you can make is in you.